We
Hey,
will
nice.
start recording around about 5-10 seconds ago.
Get all of my curse words completely. No, I can swear in stream, that's fine.
Okay.
What am I
So
gonna do?
we're back doing this again. Reviewing magic cards, or Yu-Gi-Oh player reviewing magic cards, and a magic player reviewing magic cards to determine if we can figure out if something is good or bad for a game we don't play.
Yeah,
Alright.
it should be
Hit me
fun.
with your first one.
I was really bad last time. So last time I said that there was only one 2-mana planeswalker.
Yep.
I was wrong. I'd completely forgotten about this one. There's actually two 2-mana planeswalkers, and this is
Alright.
the other one.
Okay.
Um,
Ren and 6. Alright. So, it's two colors. Return one, target land from your graveyard to your hand. That seems decent. Just a damage to a target is alright, and the amulet is never going to matter. That will never come up. Look, getting a land back sounds nice. Now, that doesn't have to be a basic land. That can be, like, fetch
it
lands and
doesn't. It
stuff,
can
right?
be any land. Yeah, any
Yeah,
land
yeah,
that
this
you.
is good. This is just good.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is banned in Legacy, which is one of Magic's most powerful formats.
Yeah.
That's partially, at the very least, due to the fact that you can return fetch land to your hand
Yeah.
every single turn after turn 2.
Yep.
In some formats, turn 1 you can get this out, so you can fetch land, get some kind of a mana rock, tap, get this dude out, get the fetch land back. Dealing 1 damage is extremely relevant in a lot of those formats as well, because you have a lot of high power 1 toughness creatures. The ultimate doesn't really come into play; it's mostly for the land. But this is insane.
Yep.
This is incredible. And for a 2-mana planeswalker, you get 3 loyalty.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I don't even bother with like the full
Yeah,
power
that was
ability. It's like
like
those just don't happen.
that was like one of the ones where I was like, yeah, it'll get that this is good, more than likely.
Yeah.
There's not much chance of getting this one wrong.
All right, I've got one for you. If it, okay, that didn't work there. If it sends, here we go.
All right, Max C. All right, so this is the stars mean that amount of stars means I can get that at the start of the game without sacrificing anything, doesn't it?
Yep.
So this is a 500 200.
Yep.
During either player's turn, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Each time your opponent special summons a monster, immediately draw 1 card, and you can only use 1 Max C for turn. Okay. Interesting. So this is probably not one that you would be casting. You'd probably be using it for card advantage.
Yep.
Well, not even card advantage, really, is it? It's card. It's like a cantrip. But only if your opponent special summons a monster. But each time though. So is there a way that other decks that special summon multiple monsters?
Yeah,
Special summon multiple monsters a turn.
Yeah. There are quite a few monsters that will special summon more than once.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna say if there is like a meta deck that does that this card is really good.
Okay.
Because of the sheer card advantage that you'd get against that kind of deck.
Yeah. So
I would say
this card, every deck is that meta deck. Every meta deck for the last 5 years just swarms special
it's the same deck that we mentioned last time.
There's quite a lot of decks over the last few years. Pretty much every deck special summons anywhere from 4 to 20 times in a turn.
Wow, yeah, so this is insane, and will be in every single deck.
So, yeah, obviously, it's banned in English, but in Japan, they have it at 3 for whatever reason. And essentially, your opponent will drop this on you, and you can either give your opponent up to 20 cards and play out your combo and hope that they can't win with half
Yeah.
their deck in their hand, or you
Or
pass.
it's basically opponent skips their turn if you
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah, yeah.
That's really, really insane.
So, yeah, your choice is to either give your opponent a whole handful of cards or pass your turn with no cards on field. It's
Wow.
busted.
Yeah.
Absolute bonkers
That's
card.
that's incredible.
It was meant to like skill check combo decks, and then every deck's like,
Mm,
oh, not skill check, but like just to keep combo decks in check. But then every deck is a combo deck, so
yeah. And
it
then it's
does
just
nothing.
well,
It
like
just means if I saw it, I win. If you
every
give,
combo deck will just have that alongside their combo because it helps you get to your combo.
exactly. It's like, oh, I drew Maxine, you didn't, so I win the game.
Yeah. I feel like a more balanced way of saying would be something like players can't special summon more than X amount of times or something like that.
Yeah.
That might be a better limiting effect, but that's really insane. Um, okay. All right, so we're both 1 for 1. That's good.
Yep.
This is card number 2 from me.
All right. Exile 3 creatures from your graveyard. Okay. Ooh. So not only do you have to pay your 3, you've also got to exile 3 creatures from your graveyard. So you obviously you have to have things in your graveyard before you can even play this.
Yeah, so you can't cast this without. It is worth noting that 3 mana for a 5/6 flyer is very good
Yeah,
rate.
that's nuts. Don't worry, that wasn't lost on me. But and then he's got recursion. He comes out of the grave. Look, if you're able to keep your deck pumping, this is really good.
Okay.
This is basically just snow. Now, question. I'm assuming
Yeah.
the answer is no. I can't play this out of my graveyard in the opponent's turn, can I?
No, it
No.
doesn't have flash.
No, okay. Just
So
making sure.
you can only cast it any time that you would regularly cast a creature, but there are effects that would allow you to cast stuff at instant speed. So theoretically you could, but generally speaking, no.
This still seems like a good card, as long as there is, you're playing something with a lot of mill. This isn't a card for the challenge, but it does remind me a lot of this from Yu-Gi-Oh! Um, which Snow is better, but still, this Scar Ruinator is, I'd say, it's a good card.
Okay, this is a classic example of a bait card.
Uh,
Everyone coming when it was spoiled, everyone thought this was going to be really, really great.
yeah,
And it just wasn't. Obviously, 3 mana 5/6 flyer is insane.
yeah,
But the hoop of having to have those 3 creatures in your graveyard, and like the downside of exiling 3 creatures and then it gets destroyed anyway, and then having to pump up to 3 creatures in your graveyard, and it is specifically creatures.
yeah. I mean, that
Um,
doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, in my
it,
opinion. But
it's
I
one of
guess
those.
self mill
Well,
probably isn't as prevalent as it is in Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah. Well, it's one of those things where like decks that want to self mill to win through self mill won't have many creatures because
Yeah,
they want to have stuff that mills them.
yeah,
Self mill decks that want that are graveyard based want creatures that all recur, so
yeah,
they don't want to be exiling their creatures.
yeah. That makes sense.
So it's again it's a card that could be really good theoretically, but the hoops
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
have to go through are a bit too much, and the decks that might want to play it don't want to play it
yeah,
because there's
yeah.
just better things to do.
So
Like
yeah,
it's not awful. It's not awful. It's as I said, it's a bait card. It's one that could be decent, but like it's never going to be. It's not as good as it looks.
yeah. It's not worth
Um,
the spot that it takes in the deck.
yeah, exactly. Like you'd rather run something that just recurs naturally Like, there's a couple of cards. There's one card that enters the battlefield from the graveyard when another card gets milled. When another creature card gets milled.
Yep.
For example.
Yep.
That's just better.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh, we have this fucking thing called Snow. Whenever it hits the field, it puts a monster your opponent controls face down, and then during either player's turn, you can exile 7 other cards from anywhere, including your grave, to summon it out of the grave.
I see.
It's not like a limited card anyway. You can do that multiple times throughout your opponent's turn if you have multiple copies, or if it just keeps dying. It can just chump block things, and it's stupid. It's what Scar Ruinator wishes it was.
Yeah, that's interesting just because of the fact that, like, it is a very similar effect, but they're like very different in terms of power. For the games.
Well, the fact that you can banish any 7 cards, they don't have to be all creatures. Is just a huge difference.
If it were any 3 cards, Scabru it would probably be busted insane. It'd probably be incredible, because then you could, I don't know, like, fetch land, play a mill spell, play a mana rock, turn 2 cast it. Then it would be worth it. Yeah.
Here's the actual one we have.
Alright, let's go. Mystic Mine. Okay, this is a spell card. Can you cast spell cards at instant speeds, or
no?
Okay, so this is only on your turn.
Yep. It's a field spell, so it sticks around.
Oh right, okay, it sticks around, so it's like a permanent. Okay.
Yeah.
If your opponent, so this happens if your opponent controls more monsters than you, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. If you control more opponents than you, so it's a. I see. So it's a what's the word? It's like a. It affects both players basically. It's like an effect. It's a universal effect basically, where if you have more creatures, then you can't activate effects or declare an attack. If both players control the same number, destroy this card. Okay, that's interesting. So I feel like this could help temper against decks that get just a shit ton of creatures on board. I don't know. I feel like in Yu-Gi-Oh there's limited slots for putting monsters down, isn't there?
Yeah, 5. Yep.
Yeah, I see. Because in Magic, this would probably be better just because of the fact that you can get an insane amount of creatures. Like you can get thousands and thousands if you want to. I'm gonna say it's pretty good. I feel like this is all right. Like if you're if you're playing a deck where you're not getting many creatures out and your opponent is getting 4 or 5 consistently, I feel like this is pretty good, especially with the kind of insane effects that creatures have in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, so this card is at 3, so no limitation on it. But for pretty much since its release, people have been screaming to have this card banned. It just recently, this card just single-handedly won like a major tournament just a few days ago or a few weeks ago. Just because you play this and then you just play Burn or Mill.
Oh right, it's Burn deck. Oh right, so you don't play your creature. You don't really play creatures.
You just play this. Your opponent's creatures do nothing, and then you just fuck them up.
I didn't even consider like just not playing any monsters and just playing. I think sometimes I forget that Burn is like a legitimate archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh.
It is sometimes in Magic.
Yeah, alright, so it's I think Burn in Magic has been like the most consistent archetype that's always been good in basically any standard format at the very least.
Yeah. So essentially you just play this with there's this other card that's like every turn it gains a counter, and then you can either burn your opponent for 400 times the counters or heal yourself by like 600 times the counters or something like that. And it just stacks. So like, you just keep healing yourself with this on field, so your opponent can't play, and then you just one shot it when it hits like
Yeah,
20
especially if you're
counters.
playing against the deck that like is because I assume a lot of decks are basically trying to win through combat, at least some of them,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. I mean, combat
feature
is
abilities.
yeah. Eventually, like it's essentially you wipe your opponent's board, and then combat is just to finish them
Yeah,
off.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
combat's
really
just the
cool.
end of the game. It's not really punch him and then next turn punch him again. It's you wipe his board and then kill him in one turn.
Yeah, you get them through in one big swing rather than
Yeah,
little swings usually.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. This just
yeah,
puts everything to a
so
stop.
it just stops them from doing that. That's really cool. Actually, there'll be ways of stopping this card and like destroying this card and that, but like
Yeah,
that's
there's also ways to protect it.
yeah, it's true.
There's one card
Um,
you put it out and it puts a counter on this that just gives it an extra life.
yeah,
Um,
I can't, oh my god, I can't help but imagine the people who don't want it banned are the it dies to removal squad.
No, I
Uh,
actually. So there are like pro players that are like, why are you not playing against this? Like, why are you not playing removal for this? But they are also saying just fucking ban it. Like, there's no one out there that's like, don't ban this card. But they're
because
also saying if you're not prepared for this, you're just preparing to lose.
I see. Yeah, that's fair. It's like a really common Discord whenever like a really insane card gets printed for Magic. Is that there's always one group of people who are like, well, it dies to removal, and
Yep.
like just completely focus your deck around beating this one card. That's healthy for the format.
Yeah. Well, there's also a trap card that plays this from your deck. So your opponent can
Oh
set
wow!
up their big board, and then you just flip up your trap and activate this in the
You just
middle of
have a
their
trap
turn.
card and just give it a response.
Yeah. Just like, oh, sorry, everything does nothing now. Have fun. Past
Yeah,
turn.
it's incredible, and I hate it. All right, brilliant. Um, this is my third card. Yes,
Yep,
my
yep.
third card. I'll need to explain slightly something about it. Um, in Magic, there are snowlands, which
Oh,
you have like snow basics that are exactly the same as regular basic lands, but they produce snow mana.
okay.
Snow mana can be used on anything with that color, but regular mana can't be used for snow mana permanent for like this snow symbol.
Yep. Okay. I mean, so you draw a card, and then I feel like this is just too hard to summon.
Hmm.
I feel like your snow thing isn't going to be enough to build a deck around. So snow is just like a sort of like sub sort of archetype, because it's not one of the main five. Uh,
Well, it's you get snowlands. Sorry, you get snow. So, for example, there are snowlands for each color. So there are snow islands, snow plains, snow
yep,
swamps, snow mountains. For every color, you have a snowland equivalent that produces red, white, blue, but in snow variety.
yep. I mean, adding a mana
Um,
of any color can really like fix mana crashing. And being an artifact, you can use that immediately too. But realistically,
yeah,
you're paying two to get one of any color, which isn't too bad, honestly. It's just one of them has to be a snow. You draw a card. Oh, like I feel like I'm being baited in the fact that the Snowland is just so like ridiculous to get that it's not worth playing. But it also just reads as a good card. Draw a card, pay one, add any mana every turn. That's all good card stuff. I feel
yeah.
like the Snowland is bait. I'm gonna say it's a good card.
All right, cool. You're correct. This card is banned in 3 of the 5 formats it was printed in. Because I mean, for one, it replaces itself immediately. I think there are decks in Pauper, for example, that used it where they had all snowlands. So in Pauper, it's insane. It replaces itself. It fixes your colors really nicely. And as well, it gets around. So there's a card called. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a card called Blood Moon, which makes all of your lands mountains. So that restricts decks from going like 4 or 5 color because your mana bases can allow it in those kinds of formats. That kind of controls this. This got around that because you can cast it with a card that's been turned into a snow mountain.
Yeah.
And it fixes your mana, so that gets around like one of the biggest controlling cards.
Yep. Yep.
So this card's really, really good. It's banned in Modern, Legacy, and Pauper.
Wild.
Pauper is the one where it's just commons legal.
Yeah. I know.
It was really insane in that format. But yeah. So yeah, this is an incredible card. Which,
right.
yeah. Yeah, you were right. Nice one.
Here we go. Sullen Great Almirage.
All right. Sullen Great Almirage.
So it's a link monster, which means it has a summoning requirement of just having a. So it's in your extra deck. It's not in your hand. So at any time you can access this. All you need to do is just give up a normal summoned monster with 1,000 or less attack.
Okay, so you basically sacrifice a creature.
Yeah.
Of 1,000 or less to get this out.
Yeah. It has to be normal summoned. You only get one normal summon per turn.
I see. Normal summoned. Okay. Yeah. So theoretically, you could, play a creature, turn 1, get this out if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick effect. You contribute this card, then target one monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects this turn. So card effects, that'll be anything that a card has done, like any creature ability or spell or something like that. Okay. When a normal summoned creature you control is destroyed by battle, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Okay. And you can only use 1 per turn. What does link -1 mean?
So the link 1 means it just requires 1 material to make it. So
okay.
Link 4 and they require 4 materials, but this only does require the 1 material. Now, because it doesn't have a defense, this cannot be defense mode.
It doesn't have a defense, so it can only come down in attack mode.
Yep.
Okay. That's interesting. So, I mean, it seems like decent protection, and it's easy to get out. But it kind of... I feel like it's a little bit susceptible to just being attacked into, just because of how much damage they could do. Yep. If they attacked into this, because obviously in Yu-Gi-Oh, everything basically has trample, doesn't it?
I mean...
In effect.
I mean, if something's in attack mode, then yes.
Yeah, and this can't go into defense mode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's cannot be. It seems like decent-ish protection to me. If you're having a combo that's like based around getting a certain creature out, I feel like. It just depends on whether it's worth the cost of doing it. I mean, I also feel like you might be baiting me because there's been two good cards in a row, but. Well, you do 3 in a row, but I'm going to say this is pretty good. This seems good.
This seems good. So, crazy enough, this card is good, but for none of the reasons you said. So, when you're reading the effect of this, it says 1 normal summon monster with 1,000 or less attack, and then you stop reading. Yeah. The rest of the effect is irrelevant.
Wait, seriously?
What? No, I don't think anyone has even bothered understanding what the effect of this is. No one reads it. It does not matter. This card has one purpose. It is to put a monster with 1,000 or less attack from your field to your graveyard immediately.
Sacrifice outlet.
It's a free way to get that guy in the grave.
Okay.
So there's one example that you probably know of is like Sangan. If it goes from field to grave, you search. So you could just normal summon your Sangan, send it to grave, search a card. But the main one people use is this card, Alistair the Invoker. When he's normal summoned, he adds a fusion spell to hand, and the fusion spell fuses from field or grave. So you send the Alistair to grave to put this out, boom, you've now got your 2 fusion materials.
Okay.
So yeah, the entire purpose of this is it gives you an extra body on the board and puts a guy in the grave. If the guy you put in the grave has a recursion effect, you can bring that guy back out. Like has like a revival effect, you bring that guy back out, and then Almirage and whatever you've just brought back can now go into Elite 2. You've got Elite 2 off 1 card.
Oh my god. Okay.
So yeah, his effect is irrelevant. I didn't even know he can revive himself until like just now.
So I just read it because you never read past the first line.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about it being run over because it's a quick effect. You can do that at any time. So at any time, if your opponent tries to run this over, you can just tribute it to protect one of your other guys, and they can no longer run it over with trample.
Yeah.
So its attack is irrelevant because it just leaves the field whenever you want it to.
Yeah,
but it generally won't make it to your opponent's turn just because it's just material to go into a bigger monster.
Mm. Okay. That's interesting. That's really funny. I love it when that happens, when someone gets like that a card is good but gets the reasoning completely wrong. I think you did the same with Golgari Grave Troll last time, which is another creature that just never gets like a lot of the abilities are completely ignored other than the dredge.
Yeah.
That's funny. So this is Stuffy Doll. For my is it number 4? Yeah, number 4.
Okay, 5 cost, 0/1, indestructible. Choose a player. When damage is dealt, it's dealt to the player. This is just dog water. This is shit.
Yeah, it's not. This is one of the easy ones. This card isn't great. It's one of those cards that's quite bad, but there has been combo decks that have like fringe combo decks can kill you with it. I think there's a card that you can equipment where when it's dealt damage it untaps or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, this is pretty bad. Especially nowadays when there are so many exile effects, so that indestructible is completely irrelevant. I thought this might be an easy one, but I like Stuffy Doll. It's such a silly little card. All right, Statue of Anguish Pattern. That's a trap card, so you can place this down and then use it at any time. Yeah.
Yep. It's a continuous trap, so it stays on the field when it's flipped up.
Oh, so this is. How can you tell whether? Oh, right, is that infinity symbol? That means that it stays. Okay, I didn't realize that with the other one. Special. Oh, okay. Special summon this card as an effect monster with 7 attack. Wait, no, sorry. Level 7 attack 0, defense 2500. Still a trap card. So did it stay in the trap card area? Because I know there's 2 areas.
Monster zone.
Okay.
But it's still able to be killed by things that say kill a trap.
Yeah, because it's a monster. It's basically turned into a monster when you use it. So
it's both. It has all the advantages and downsides of both.
Yeah. So it can be destroyed by destroy creature or destroy trap card effects.
Yep.
Because it's both. Okay. This card cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effects while you control another trap card that is a monster. If a card is special summoned from your spell and trap zone to the monster zone. While this card is a monster, you can destroy a card on the field. Ah, okay. If summoned this... So... Are there many other cards that have similar effects in Yu-Gi-Oh?
There is a whole group of these trap monsters that are trap cards
Okay.
that when you flip them up, they become monsters.
And they have like an effect when you special summon from spell and trap zone.
No, none of the other ones have an effect that is when they're special summoned. This is the only one that does something when something is special summoned. The others are just bodies, essentially.
I don't know if I'm going to trust my instinct, but my instinct is that this is pretty bad.
Yeah, so
it feels a little bit
the destruction
too
effect is
niche.
not once per turn. So if you have 5 of these, you can pop 5 things.
Okay, it depends on if... Yeah, I guess if there's a lot of effects, I can see this being quite good, especially with you just doing a bunch of stuff and destroying your opponent's whole board.
If you've got 2, they stack.
Oh, yeah, of course they do, yeah.
Yeah. But no,
so is this really good?
This is really good in its own deck, but it's a bad deck.
Yeah.
If you open 2 of this, you've got 2 guys that can't be targeted, that have a big booty, that are 2,500 and hard to run over. You've summoned them for free, basically, because there's no tribute required. They just come out.
You just play a trap, as long as you can play a trap card.
And then from that point onwards, anytime you activate one of your other trap monsters, you pop 2 cards.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, that's fair. So, but only very specifically in a deck that's completely centered around these statue cards.
Yeah, or just trap monsters in general. There's a whole bunch of them, but they're mostly pretty bad. Some of them just have like stat changing things, so they change their types so they can make different things from the extra deck, like that you choose their stats when they come out, sort of thing, like their type and attribute. Okay. So you're choosing their color. And there's one that if another trap monster is destroyed, instead of going to grave, it resets itself back as a trap that's face down, so you can just flip it up again next turn. But yeah, the deck is pretty easy to meme on because spell and traps are pretty easy to remove.
Yeah. But 2 of them, that's when you're cooking with gas.
Yeah, if you open 2 of these, you usually win that game.
Yeah, destroying on the field is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
Alright, that's cool. That's neat. I like that. I like that card. This is the kind of stupid card that I'd be tempted to build the deck around.
Oh yeah, I have this deck. I've played this deck since 2012.
Oh, I see. Like, is it one of those decks that's like a bad deck, but like, if you get the right hand, you just win?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm probably the best pilot in the world when it comes to this deck. This card was a fucking blessing.
That's fantastic. That was brilliant. This is card number 5. Yeah, number 5.
Yep.
From me. Visions of Beyond.
Okay. Shit. Okay. If a graveyard has 20 or more cards, draw 3 instead. Alright, so it depends on the format. I feel like, for a modern format, this would be kind of meh, just because the game is slower. But in like your older formats where you can easily go through 20 cards in a turn, this card would be nuts. But even still, like, I'll pay 1 to, draw 1 isn't the worst thing in the world. It is just an instant speed draw 1 in a deck that often saves its mana for counter traps. So generally, you'll be saving your mana for counter traps if you don't use them. You could, just before the turn ends, instant this thing, get a draw out of it, and cycle through your deck a bit faster. And then the option to sometimes draw 3 instead is crazy. Obviously, the draw 3 is really good. The draw 1 is kind of mediocre. I think this, yeah, in your modern decks, it would suck, but I feel like there'd be some vintage format where this thing's crazy. Well, not crazy, but just a must play.
This card isn't great. In any format really. It's probably, you could probably see it being used in Commander to some extent.
Yep.
But the 1 mana instant just to draw a card is quite bad.
Yep.
There are a lot of cantrips that do a lot more than that, and the hoop of having to have 20 or more cards in the graveyard just makes it not worth playing.
Yeah. I'm not
Um,
sure on the full power of like your old formats, like legacy
yeah,
formats and
like
stuff. But I feel like there's some combos that just blow up and play 40 cards in a turn.
yeah, there are some cards. There's probably some decks that theoretically could use it. Like it's not a bad card, like, but
There's
it's
always
not
going to
as
be
good as
60
it
better
might look.
cards.
Yeah, it's one of those where like if you get that in your starting hand, you kind of go
Yeah, you definitely
uh,
want to open that.
it's a feel bad just because you can do a lot better things. Like there was a card that I showed you last time that has the same. You get the same amount of cards in terms of card advantage, but you draw 3 and put 2 back.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You would,
brainstorm.
in your older formats, you would much rather play Brainstorm.
Yeah,
Like the best case is amazing in this case, but the worst case is so bad
yep,
that you'd rather play something more consistent
yeah.
like Ponder or Brainstorm over this.
That's fair.
It's all a consistency thing, basically.
I'm hoping the text on this one comes up well enough to read.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks
yeah,
fine.
yeah. It should be. Morphtronic telephone. Okay, this is a legit just a fucking phone. I
Yeah.
love it. It's cute.
There's a whole
Uh,
deck of these things. They're just like
it
everyday
is. It's got
electronics.
his little face. I like this one. So it's a 100/100. So that's terrible in terms of stats, but I assume it has. So attack position. Once per turn during your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die and gain life points equal to 100 times the result. Okay.
So you're capping out at a big
Um,
600 point game there.
600 point gain isn't bad.
When you have 8,000, that's like gaining one in Magic.
8,000. Oh, it's more. All right. Okay. Let me think of it. So 8,000.
Divided by
5 would be
20.
like 2,000. So yeah, it would be like gaining one. That would at best gain one. Okay, that puts it more into perspective. At most, you can gain one. Um. Okay. Once per turn, you can roll a 6-sided die. Excavate that many cards from the top of your deck. Excavate.
You can actually finish reading that first effect.
Yeah, from the top of your deck, or as many as you can. If you do, you can send one excavated Morphtronic to the graveyard.
So
Also,
excavate is look at that many cards from the top of your deck.
okay. So you look at the top X, where X is the number on the die, and you put one into your graveyard and the rest to the top or bottom of the deck in any order.
Reread the attack position effect because I don't think you finished it.
Gain. Oh, right, sorry. Then you can special summon one Morphtronic monster from your graveyard with the level equal or lower than the result. Okay, that makes that better.
Yeah, it does.
That does make that better. All right. It's very variant though. Like you can just roll a 1, and then that it gets you a 101 creature. Are there ways of like manipulating dice rolls in this? Because there are in Magic.
I mean, there is, but none are consistent enough to warrant doing it.
I feel like this is just too inconsistent to be good. Then
Okay.
I feel like this is pretty shit, personally.
Yep.
unless you can do something really great, even with a 1 roll in the attack position. Or if you really, again, like you roll 1 on either of these and it's just really, really bad.
Yeah, okay. So, the important thing with Morphtronic Telephone is not what it says, it's what it doesn't say. So,
Okay.
with the attack position effect, you can resurrect any Morphtronic that is equal to or lower than the roll that you get. It's able to
You resurrect
target.
itself.
It's able to target another copy of itself. So if you have another one engraved, it can bring
Oh, so
itself
if you
back.
have this out and a sack outlet, then you can just basically get infinite life, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an infinite loop with itself as long as you
That
have one of.
instantly makes this good. Then I hate it.
Yeah, it's not once per turn or anything like that. Like it's not a
You're
hard
the
once per turn. So once you bring out the new one, you just send off the one that you just used and then bring it back, and you can use the effector kit.
yeah.
So you put it out with there's a monster called Cannon Soldier, which is tribute a monster, burn 500 life points from your opponent.
Oh wow. Okay.
So you just win. You just summon this guy 40 times and win.
Yeah. Okay. There's always one little detail that I don't notice, and then it's like, actually, this is good because of this detail. I completely just until I realized that was a 1, basically.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
like, oh,
if
you
you've
can
got
just
two of
loot it.
these, or if you've got one engraved, so you can normal summon this, bring out the one
Yeah.
engraved, turn this into Almirage, and then bring out the other one. Now you've got 3 guys on board.
Turn it into fucking Armorage.
And then you turn the one that you just spent and the Almirage into another guy, and then bring out the one
Yeah.
and bring him out again. It's
Yeah.
just
I think I
infinite
just saw.
resources.
Yeah, that's insane.
So
I hate that
there's a
so.
few like first turn kill combos with this card.
Of course there is. Yu-Gi-Oh is an insane game. Um,
I had to play against one at locals like 2 nights ago.
I'll have to. At some point I'll have to get into playing it with you online. I'm never going to buy
Absolutely.
into it because I already
Yeah,
play
play it
Magic.
online. I'll play online with you anytime, dude. It's awesome.
I already pay so much money on Magic that I'm never
Yeah.
going to buy into it. But I should definitely start building some decks
All right, we've
because there's
got
some
one
silly things.
more.
One more. This is quite an old card, so the art is weird because Magic's old art sometimes just looks fucking freaky. This is Flash.
Oh, yep. All right.
Uh,
Cost 2. It's an instant. Put a creature from your hand into play. I mean, okay. So essentially, because you're reducing the cost by 2, you're essentially paying the same cost, but you're able to play a creature that's off color. But better yet, you're able to turn a non-instant speed creature into an instant speed creature. So anything with an entry effect that is like nuke the whole board is now in your opponent's turn, enter the field, nuke the whole board. This card is bonkers.
yeah, this card it's not quite for the same reason as you're saying, but this card is insane. It's banned in Legacy and Commander, and it's restricted to just one of in Vintage. Vintage is a format where basically nothing is banned. And if they do ban something, that it's. Are you still there?
Yep.
I heard a noise.
Yeah, it wasn't me. No worry.
So Vintage, like there are very, very, very few cards banned. Anything that is coming close to coming banned is restricted. This is banned in those formats because you can kill someone on turn 0.
Yeah.
There was a combo that came out in Legacy after this card with this card, where you could kill them before their first turn starts when they're on the play.
Crazy.
So you could. There's a land that you can put into play if you're on the draw. If you're going second, you can put that land into play. And there's another card that you can exile for mana, So you can play this turn before your opponent starts their first turn. You can put out a card that has, and you never keep the card around. You always sacrifice it because you don't care about paying the mana cost. So it's not even an enter the battlefield. There's a card that comes in called So the combo's called Flash Hulk.
Yep.
And you get out a card called Protean Hulk, which is this one. I'll send it in. So you get out this card with Flash. You sacrifice it. So when it dies, you search for any number of creature cards with converted mana cost 6 or less, and put them into the battlefield. So you get there's like I think there's a few cards that have like 0 cost.
Yep.
So you can search for as many 0 cost creature cards as you want to, and then there's but they're 0 cost and they die, and then there's a card that has whenever a creature enters your graveyard, it deals damage to your opponent.
That's hilarious.
So it's just this ridiculous convoluted combo, and you could literally kill them turn 0.
It's great.
It's insane. It's ridiculous. But yeah. Flash Hulk was even like it was EDH as a format commander.
Yep.
It got banned in Commander because the CEDH deck was consistently killing all 4 other players on turn 0. All 3 other players, I mean, because it's multiplayer format.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. It's incredible.
Okay. All right. One last one. I'm gonna go make a coffee while you read this.
This is gonna be a. Oh fucking hell! Okay, Nirvana High Paladin. It got me reading a novel. If a pendulum monster you control attacks, for that battle, it cannot be destroyed by battle, so you take no battle damage. Okay. At the end of the damage step, if a pendulum monster you control attacked, all monsters your opponent currently controls lose attack equal to that. Okay. Until the end of this. Okay, alright.
So that's the
It's a
effect
spell.
it has in the pendulum zone, which it needs to be put there by its own effect.
Okay, so you can put something into the pendulum zone by one of its effects. So, I see. Pendulum zone is like a special zone. I assume it doesn't start out in the pendulum zone.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, it's a synchro. Is that like a fusion?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Fusion, yep.
You just need one tuner and one non-tuner synchro, and you can get this.
As long as their stars match its stars. So I think this is a 10 or a 9.
Oh right, okay. So you'd
10.
need how many stars? 1, 2, 3, 4,
10.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep. So they've got the tuner and one non-tuner have to equal exactly, or one or more non-tuners. It has to equal exactly.
Yeah, so you'd need like 2 5s or a 7 and a 3 or something like that.
Or a 4 and 2 3s. Like, yeah.
Oh, you can do any number of.
Yeah. As long as there's one
monsters.
tuner and the rest are non-tuners.
Okay. That makes sense. Alright. For this card's Synchro Summon, you can treat one pendulum summoned pendulum monster you control as a tuner. If this card is synchro summoned using a pendulum summoned pendulum monster tuner, you can. What's pendulum summoning?
So when you have two cards in the pendulum zones, you can do a pendulum summon, which summons any number of cards from your hand.
Interesting. And what does the 8 mean?
That's the levels of the. So your pendulum scale can be like 1 to 8, which means when you pendulum summon, you can summon anything from levels 1 to 8 from your hand all at once.
Alright. You can target one card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can have your opponent's life points. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place it in your pendulum zone. Okay. Alright, okay, so I feel like I might get an aneurysm trying to fully understand this card, but I'm gonna give it a go. This is a lot of text. This is like when you make a meme about Yu-Gi-Oh! And you make like a meme about how fucking wordy the cards are.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a meme card that someone's made to take the piss out of how fucking wordy these cards are. It's the pendulum summoned pendulum monster tuner that gets me for some reason. It's just so wordy. The effect when it's in the pendulum zone sounds really good. Is there how many creatures can be in your pendulum zone?
So 2 in the pendulum zone.
Okay, 2. That's so many different zones.
But you can have up to 6 pendulum monsters on the field.
Up to 6 pendulum monsters.
Yeah.
But 2 in the pendulum zone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna reread the main effects, the non-pendulum effects, real quick. Yeah. For this card, Synchro Summon, you can treat one pendulum summoned pendulum monster you control as a tuner. If this card is Synchro Summoned using a pendulum summoned pendulum monster tuner, you can target one card in the graveyard, add it to your hand. When this card destroys half your opponents. It feels like this card has a lot of really good effects. It all comes down to whether it's
one of any card out of your grave back to your hand.
Yeah, like recurring any card from your graveyard, adding it to your hand when it's synchro summoned using the pendulum what's the tuner? Like adding a card from your graveyard to your hand, that's good. Halving your opponent's life points, that's good. Put it into the pendulum zone with that pendulum effect, that's really good. I feel like if it's easy enough to get this card summoned, that this card has to be pretty good. That and you can destroy it yourself if you need to with a card effect, like a sack. I assume you can do that with a sack outlet if you needed to get it into the pendulum zone yourself.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So I can't see this card being bad.
Okay. Sorry.
Just because of how many effects there are.
Crazy thing is, right? You know how you really struggle to understand what the fuck this card does.
Yeah.
The whole Yu-Gi-Oh community can't understand what the fuck this card does, right? Okay, this is such a meme. I'm gonna send you a quick link. We just watch the first 20 seconds of this video. Just the 20 seconds of the intro.
Yeah. Open. All right. Open the goddamn video, Shinji. There we go. Alright, we need to open this up. For some reason, since I updated my Mac, I can't open YouTube properly on Firefox. It's really weird. Someone open this in Chrome. Fuck off, ads. Fuck off, ad. There we go.
2121, and the Earth has become uninhabitable. Every single scientist spent the past 100 years trying to decipher Nirvana High Paladin solving climate change.
Yeah, that's all you need.
At least I don't feel bad about being completely unable to understand this card then.
This card is dog shit.
Yeah.
No one plays it. I don't know if it's a combination of the fact that they just can't go through
Un-
all the effort to fucking read what it does and learn what it does. I feel like it's not that hard to summon based on what I'm reading here. I personally haven't read this card myself. Every time I've looked at it, it's been TLDR. It does whatever you say it does, buddy. My
yeah,
opponent can make up
basically,
the effect. I'm not going to fact check them.
yeah. It's basically what I said. It's like a meme.
So the fact that it needs a non-tuner synchro means you've already got to have had at least 2 monsters on the board.
Yeah.
Plus, you want your Pendulum Summon Pendulum Monster, which isn't too hard to get. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you already need to have had 2 monsters on the board, then done a Pendulum Summon, which is... Oh, you can do that all in one go. So you Pendulum Summon, you put out your 3 guys, you make your Synchro, you make this... but there's just better options to make instead. You can put out a guy for the same level and 1 less monster, and its effect is just once per turn destroy a card, once per turn negate a card.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
You need to understand, unlike this thing.
it also has a floating effect, whereas this kind of does a floating sort of thing, but it's just not good.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. Halving your opponent's life points after it destroys a monster in battle isn't that relevant, considering it already has 3,300 attack. All right, this thing could punch your opponent in the face and half their life points. All right,
This is true.
Destroying a monster by battle is really hard. This has no protection. The only protection it has is that your opponent kind of doesn't want it in the pendulum zone, but the requirements to get it out involves a pendulum summon, which means your pendulum zones are going to be full. So this fucking thing won't go to the pendulum zone because your pendulum zones are filled to summon the fucker. Getting a card out of your grave is great, except for the fact that pendulum monsters or pendulum cards, pendulum monsters don't go to the graveyard when they die.
Did they not? Oh, right, yeah, because they're like a separate thing.
Yeah,
okay.
They go to the extra deck instead, face up. So that you can bring them back and some of them more as pendulums. That's great. Means that they just keep coming back, which the name implies. But it also means they don't go to grave. So realistically, it limits your options of what you're getting out of the graveyard to your hand. And then, so that effect's less relevant. The amount of setup, like the fact that if you get this out turn 1, your target's in grave as shit. And if you're getting this out turn 2 or 3, you're kind of wasting your resources because you could easily have won with just better cards.
Okay.
I feel like this saw some fringe play when it first came out in Pendulum decks, but very quickly it just fell out of favor for just better, faster cards.
I feel like it's so confusing that you could just kind of say that it does something and your opponent would just go, yeah, sure, it does that thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just do that.
In this book of abilities, I'm sure maybe it can do what you just said. Dear God, I think that gave me a headache trying to understand that card.
That one gave you a headache, so I don't want to be showing you this card then.
Maybe next time. No, you can show it me. I'll see.
You don't have to solve it. Just read what it implies.
Okay, linear equation cannon. Nice. I like that name. That sounds awesome. During the battle phase, declare a whole number from 1 to 6. Choose one effect monster your opponent controls. Multiply the effect monster's level X by the declared number. Then add the number of cards your opponent controls. Check if the result equals the number of cards in your graveyard. If yes, send the cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, up to the declared number, so that's 1 to 6. If you do shuffle cards your opponent controls, into the deck, up to the number sent into the graveyard. So shuffle.
So you 6 cards,
and cards top of your deck, and you would put the same number of cards from your opponent's battlefield
into their deck.
Onto their deck.
Yep.
If no, lose life points equal to the declared number times 50, and you should only fucking hell. Okay. That
You've got to be like
is
a mathematics major to fucking know if you're allowed to activate this fucking thing.
Yeah, you've got to. All right, what's in your graveyard? It's like I have 7 cards in my graveyard. You go, oh shit. Well, I guess I'm not getting this off then.
No, there's
or
30
maybe.
cards in my graveyard. So if you summon a level 5, I can declare 6.
I feel like this is the kind of card that isn't amazing, but gets banned just because it causes really slow and annoying play.
Honestly, this card is just the
Polluted,
worst
dumb
thing
shit.
about this card is the first 4 words.
During the battle phase. Oh, it's during the fucking battle phase
You
as
have
well.
to do it during combat, alright? You can't even just do it when they summon a guy. You've got to do it in combat.
I'm back for several minutes trying to figure out whether this works or not.
And it gets worse, right? So if you activate this and you declare your number as part of the cost. Oh no, you activate this. And declare a number as your cost. And then your opponent can activate a card effect. That card goes to grave.
Just do shit in response so it doesn't work.
Yeah. They can respond to change the math on it by changing the number of cards on the field.
God fucking damn it. Okay.
So you got to be a mathematics major to even attempt to fucking make this card work. Then your opponent could just be like, oh, I have a single card that I can use right now.
Yeah, I can just destroy one card on the battlefield. And
Mirage outs this because it can tribute itself.
Oh my god. That's really funny. That is really fucking funny.
Yeah, I don't know why they made this.
Really, I mean, I love the card. I actually really fucking love this card because it's so dumb and convoluted and the name's awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, I have one final one.
I love that it's got the clause you can only activate one of it per turn. As if someone's going to try this twice.
I mean, to be fair, it stops you from destroying a card in response, I guess. So you can change your number.
Yeah.
I suppose. But no one's playing this. Alright, so this is my final one. You don't need to evaluate if it's good or not, because it's, you know. So the name starts on the top right there. Yeah, our market research shows that players like really long card names, so we made this card to have the absolute longest card name ever, Elemental. This is just a card I wanted to... So this isn't... Alright, it's a real card.
Yeah.
But it's from... Magic has these things called unsets.
Yeah, the unsets. They're fucking fantastic in every way, shape, and form.
And I love the unsets just because they have some of my favorite cards. Like there's the Storm mechanic that I mentioned last time.
Yeah.
So there's a heavily memed card called Storm Crow, which is 2 mana for a 1/2 with flying. It's heavily memed to be the best card in Magic.
Yeah.
Just purely as a joke because it's so average, it's so kind of bad. So they printed Crow Storm, which is 2 mana with Storm to make a 1/2 Storm Crow. Or there's Earl of Squirrel, which makes Squirrel tokens and has Squirrel Link. I fucking love the unsets to a ludicrous. They're so fun.
I took one look at this and I knew it was from an unset. Oh well,
so
that's weird that I've gone through 7 cards.
Yeah.
It's been
fun because the next other set there are actually going to be cards that are legal in some play.
Oh well.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But only it's some cards are and some cards have a little acorn, which means that they're not.
Yep.
This 100% is not legal in any format, but I'd play it in EDH just because it's fun. EDH is basically like a wasteland where if your playgroup says that you can play a card, go ahead and play it. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. Wasn't really
Yeah.
keeping track of who got things right.
I wasn't really, you know. I think we both did pretty okay for the most part. We
Yeah,
both tripped the other one up once a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah.
but like
That's the trick.
pretty.
You want the other person to fail sometimes. Like, oh, I was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
glad that you fell on telephone. I was like, yes, thank you.
I was really glad to trip you up on which one it was fucking Scarbruinator, I think.
Yeah, it looks really good. It does look really good.
Yeah. Those are the cards that I love, the bait cards.
3 for a 5/6 flying is nuts, especially
Yeah.
recurring 5/6 flying. But you guys don't have the graveyard presence that Yu-Gi-Oh does. Like Yu-Gi-Oh has so
Yeah.
much, just like this fills the grave.
Like in Yu-Gi-Oh, I can picture, I can see that might be. I mean, that would probably be ludicrous. I mean, it's
In
basically
Yu-Gi-Oh we have this, but it's banished 7, and it's
it
fine.
would be
Everyone
like
plays. It's banned.
it would be like banish 3 creatures, get a 2000 and something
Yeah,
equivalent, which I
yeah,
assume would be busted, and
yeah.
you can get it from the
Crazy.
graveyard. I assume it would be busted, insane, crazy.
Yeah, we have one card that is exile 8 cards from the top of your deck to summon it,
Yeah,
and it's a 2400, and it comes out of grave.
okay, and that's good.
It's crazy. It's very good. It's exile the top 8 cards face down, so you can't even see what you've exiled.
Oh my god. And this is the pot of greed thing, the pot of whatever it
Yeah.
was called
Pot of
thing again,
Desires.
where like
Exile
yeah,
face down.
exile a bunch of shit and draw 2 cards, and that's incredible.
Yu-Gi-Oh was cards of the grave are hard to access, and then they were like, we're going to introduce this new mechanic that's removed from the game or exiled, which
Yeah.
is a card. Once a card is out of the game, you're never going to get it back. And then over time, the graveyard became an extra hand, and then the exile pile became an extra hand, and you could just access all these cards all the time. So they were like, all right, now we need to really make exiled face down. You can't get it back.
Face down. You see, I feel Magic hasn't quite gotten to that point. At this point, the graveyard can basically be used as your hand for certain decks.
Yeah, yeah.
But accessing stuff from exile is, for the most part, not possible. For the most part, once something's exiled, it's gone. There's a couple of funny cards that Squee. There's a goblin called Squee that you can cast from exile or from the graveyard. I like Squee. But that's more of a meme card than anything.
We are going to wrap this video up. It has been an hour and a bit.
Alright, it's been a lot of fun.
We may do this again. I don't know. We'll see how we go.
See if I can find some more cards that'll be fun to try and trip you up on.
I'm going to start picking less just outright good cards. I did pick 5 of these cards were just good.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost picked 4 or 5 just really good cards, but I had to find a couple of bad ones.
Yeah.
Or not great ones, but I'm running out of not great cards that aren't just obviously bad.
Yeah. No more
Yeah,
stuffy, whatever it is.
Stuffy doll, yeah. I might have a couple more that look good but are bad, but I'll see if I can dig those out. Alright, I'll be off then, I guess.